In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.
All right, y'all, welcome to the Daily Memphian's Tigers podcast. I'm Parth Upadhyaya, the Tigers basketball beat writer, and I'm joined by John Martin, the Daily Memphian's Tigers college sports columnist. John, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. We had a break, a nice layoff.
Yeah, nice little holiday break, Christmas break.
We had to let you get back home.
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
Back home to Raleigh.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Went to Raleigh for a bit, and then went to Myrtle Beach with the family for a few days there, and then
a little retreat.
Yeah, it was nice.
Look at you.
It was nice. It was very cold. It wasn't like
I'm sorry.
Ideal beach weather, right? I didn't get in the water or nothing like that, but it was just nice to have a change of scenery.
You didn't dip your toes in?
Nah, no toe dipping for me this time, man. It was pretty frigid.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I would say. The Tigers can't go on a vacation like you did.
They cannot. They got stuff to work on, Penny said.
And I think that's kind of a great place to start, because I don't think we've talked since they beat Ole Miss, right? We the holiday break and all that. Obviously, a great win. You know, when they had to bounce back from after Mississippi State. But we all know, like, people were not really worried about beating Ole Miss. It's beating FAU. You know, it's beating Charlotte. It's beating all these other teams.
Yep.
I don't know where you come down, but I thought that, you know, beating FAU in the way they did was symbolically as important as beating Ole Miss. In the metrics, it won't mean the same, but I just think symbolically.
1,000%. And I hope I captured the essence of that in the stories that I wrote when I was in Boca Raton. Another awesome trip, by the way. But man,
a lot of those.
Yeah, man, I've been loving. Yeah, loving this job, loving the travel.
We're gonna have to work on the travel next year with the schedule. Hopefully, they get you down to Hattiesburg, maybe, you know, Biloxi. You know,
I'm hoping for their tropical getaway, man. I got to talk to Penny about scheduling that, getting on that. But no, man, I think you're absolutely right. Like, beating Ole Miss, obviously, to the nation. Like, you're beating number 16 at the time, Ole Miss, by 17 points, blowing them out of the water. That's going to create the headlines and the buzz and the national respect, and that's going to vault you back into the AP poll. But beating Florida Atlantic is what's going to reassure the fan base, right? And in the way they did it, the way the Tigers did it, 28-point win, left no doubt, came out of the gate and just stomped him.
I knew some sharp groups, some really, really sharp groups that bet FAU in that game. I think for the for the reason, right, that we would suspect that somebody would like FAU, which is, all right, non-conference is over. On the road, this is where Penny teams usually drop the ball, right? This is where you kind of see the let off. And it did not happen at any point. And I know the North Texas game, from a point spread and a predictive metric standpoint, was disappointing.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I never felt like that game was really that much in doubt.
No, I wouldn't say it was ever in doubt. Did it get slightly dicey? Yeah. I mean, it was a 4-point win, right? Like, you look at the score and you can see that it got dicey. Yeah. I think once Memphis put the pressure on, I think it was late first half, that's when you felt the momentum kind of shift in the Tigers' direction, and you felt more comfortable if you're a fan or a supporter of the team. Should it have been that close? It was an 8-point spread, right, in the favor of Memphis going in. Probably not, but that's a funky North Texas team. Like, they're not a good team. Nobody's going to call them a good team or a tournament team or anything like that. Let's not get it twisted, but they defend, man.
And they play that style in college basketball where they limit possessions and they drain the clock. And it's like, it's just mind numbing, you know? It's going to be
Virginia-esque, right? If you
it's going to be hard to beat that team with margin, you know, just because of the way that they
play.
There's
limited opportunities.
The number of possessions is very limited, relatively speaking, right?
Tigers shot 44 field goal attempts in that game. That's a season low. Previous season low was 52. At San Francisco.
You know, and let's just say you're going to shoot 45% from the field, right? Let's take on average.
Well, they were higher than that, but yes, on average, sure.
Okay, let's just take 50. So that's 8 points that you did not get because of the lower number. Okay, so then you go from winning by 8, so by 4 to 12.
That's a big difference, right? Yeah.
I mean, then we're saying, you know, but
exactly.
So against a normal pace team, that's a double-digit win, right?
100%.
So that's why, like, I just don't. There's been nothing in this conference season that's been anything other than super encouraging for me to date.
Yeah, no doubt. But I think if you're the Tigers, and they've said as much, we talked to Penny yesterday, talked to Tyrese Hunter yesterday as well, and both of them kind of put out the same sentiment, like, hey, we're playing against ourselves. Like, it's me versus me, right?
Yeah.
It's not Memphis versus the AAC. We got to beat ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
And I think the two biggest flaws, if you're a Tigers fan, if you're looking at areas to improve or areas to be concerned, obviously the ball security, major issue. It's been an issue all season. And then the rebounding, particularly the defensive rebounding. North Texas had, looking at it right now, 15 second chance points. That's after a couple days after FAU put up 19 in second chance points. Obviously, Tigers won that game by 28, but that could have been a 40-point win, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the difference, I think, between just beating these teams, because they're going to beat. We talked about this off the air or off the podcast. They're going to beat these teams. These teams suck.
Yep.
But you got to soundly beat these teams. You got to beat the hell out of these teams, and to beat the hell out of these teams, you got to solve the turnover issue and you got to solve the rebounding issue.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, that's a good thing to even be talking about in January, because the goal, we're talking about doing this to improve a seed.
Correct.
This is through the prism of, get a 3 seed, get a 4 seed, get a 5 seed. Coming into this season, we talked about it. And credit to you. I mean, you were way more optimistic about this team than I was. The whole thing was just make tournament, like just in the drought. You got to get back to the tournament. And we're far beyond that. Like, I want to make this point. People understandably will like kind of stop you when you start talking about, like, if you just kind of suggest that Memphis getting into the tournament is a foregone conclusion, people will kind of stop you and say, well, what about last year? People don't realize this. There were like 5 or 6 top 100 teams in the American. Like North Texas was top 100. Yep. SMU was top 100. UAB was basically right there. FAU was top 100. Like, as bad as it was a year ago, it's probably 5 times as bad this year because there are none other than North Texas and you. That's it.
And I was going back and looking at it last night, looking at my old writing from last season, and going into the conference slate around this time last year, Memphis had 3 quad 1 opportunities. That's still crap, right? 3 out of 18 is garbage. But this year they have zero goose egg, right?
They have absolutely
in quad
none.
1. So it's a big difference.
And I would also add, the quality of the league is so bad that like Memphis is just not going to lose. Like they're just not going to lose. That's one. Secondly, the best wins they have this year have aged remarkably better than the ones they had a year ago. I mean, I don't even know what their best win ended up being last year. Would it have been Clemson at home?
I'm looking at it right now. According to KenPom, if you want to use that as a barometer, a metric, whatever, it was Clemson, which finished 19th in KenPom. And
okay, I mean, that's a great win. But
it's a really solid win. Tournament team.
And then
Elite 8 team, not even tournament team.
My guess would be second would FAU at home.
Second would be, looks like, no, Texas A&M on the road.
Oh, that's right. Texas A&M. Okay. Okay. So, I mean,
And then FAU's third, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, your top 3 wins this year are UConn, Michigan State, and Clemson at Clemson.
Yeah, let's compare those numbers. Look at this. So, Michigan State, 17th in KenPom right now. UConn, 25th. And we can keep going. Ole Miss, 24th, right? So, that's 3 top 25 KenPom wins.
Clemson's
Last year they had
something.
Last year they had 1.
Right. So the resume is just so much better. Like, even if, I would say this, Parth, even if Memphis has the kind of slide that they had last year, I still think they're in Dayton at worst.
So first 4. Yeah. No, I think I'd agree.
Like, I just don't, I think their wins are too good. Now, look, I'm not saying go do that. Like, don't
test that theory.
But I just, Memphis is I think Memphis is a 99.5% tournament team. Like, it would just,
and there's numbers out there on this. Like, do you know what Torvik's saying?
I haven't.
I got to go back and look, but
I remember that.
It's pretty high.
I remember doing that.
Yep. Yeah, that's always fun. That's always fun.
And he was pretty low on them, like, throughout the year.
He was right. He
ended up being right. I mean, that was the thing.
Although I will say Torvik's still kind of low, or at least lower than KenPom and other metrics. On the Tigers, he's got him at 38, which is
right. I mean, you're in that range.
You're in that range, yeah.
So what does that kind of put you at? Like a 4 or 5 right now?
Seating wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something interesting too. And I heard you and Jeff Calkins talk about it on Jeff's show earlier this week, how the metric ratings, whether it be Bar Torvik or KenPom or even the net, like those aren't lining up with what Lenardi and Jerry Palm and those guys are saying as far as seating. Obviously, we know there's reasons for that because the Tigers' resume is much better than who they are metrically, right? Like what they're doing efficiency-wise. And I think a lot of that's being held down by not only the Arkansas State loss, which was bad, quad 3 loss, but also the turnovers and the the rebounding, all the stuff that we've talked about that are glaring weaknesses of this team are holding them back in computers. I think.
Well, I just looked at it. Memphis has a 98.5% chance to get an at-large berth, according to Torvik, and a 99.2% chance to get in.
I'm looking at it right now. Yep.
So I don't think they were ever there a year ago.
The seating is a little lower than you'd like.
I think
6.9.
Yeah, that's
by Bart Torvik. I don't think they're going to be a 7 seed.
That would be a slap in the face if everything goes to projection and they are a 7 seed basically. That would be a huge slap in the face. I don't believe that to be the case. But Torvik is usually right. So I don't really know if I'm in a position to argue with him at this point. But
I think that's the range, right? Like we talked about it before we started recording. Like, I don't know. I know you said, I think your ceiling for this team was a 2 seed.
If they win every game, if they win every single game, that would be their ceiling.
The margins matter, right? In that case, obviously. You can't just win them by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9
your
points.
Your predictive metrics are definitely going to come in. But, Parth, you know it as well as I do. Like, some of these teams in the American are just pathetic. They're just pathetic. And some of these games you are going to get in Memphis, right? You're not going on the road every single time.
You're not going to Denton, Texas to play North Texas. Nope.
So, that's the thing. You kind of wish you were, maybe, to get that
win. Honestly.
But I don't even think it's going to matter.
The most hostile environment they'll travel to the rest of the way is Wichita State, which is a hostile environment. Let's not get it twisted.
But will it be hostile by February 16th?
When that team's dead in the water? Maybe not.
They just lost, they just lost to somebody. Was it Temple? They just lost to Temple at home.
It was Temple. It was on the road, but still a 6-point loss to Temple.
Yeah, so I just don't really know. And Temple's got Jamal Mashburn.
He's cold.
They're not point shaving anymore. It's a different team. But yeah, I'm not real worried about Memphis. I don't see a world where they have that collapse this year. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think where I was going with that was like for me, and we're splitting hairs here, right? I think my ceiling, if they run through the AC, let's go, I don't know, let's say 17-1, which is, I think,
that's amazing.
Possible, but very tough. I think in all likelihood they'll be 16-2, 15-3, right?
15-3 even would be like, damn, what happened? Like,
you think so? It wouldn't be a catastrophe.
It wouldn't be a catastrophe, but it'd be like y'all kind of lost your head a little bit. Yeah, like what happened here?
No, I can see that. But what I'm saying is if they max out, let's say 17-1, I think they'll be on the 3 line, but that's neither here nor there. I think the floor, the worst case scenario, like you said, is still a tournament berth unless something goes, completely haywire, right?
Just beyond
imagination.
Which I don't really.
Which if that happens, you got bigger problems, but that's not a discussion for this episode.
100%. So I think that's again, you're 2 games into AAC play. You'll be 3 after Saturday. Which we'll see. We'll see about the weather here.
Yeah, no, weather was as you can imagine, a big topic when we spoke to Penny yesterday. Somebody asked him, "Have you had flashbacks to the ice game last year?" Sorry, this is so funny. The way that question was phrased was funny. I thought.
Have you had the PTSD
And Penny's response was funny also. Yeah, like somebody basically asked him, "Are you getting PTSD to everything that happened, the unraveling last year when nobody was in FedEx Forum for that January, 18th game against South Florida?" Those listening know what happened, but we can rehash it quickly if we want to. They were up by 20 against USF at home. We're just steamrolling that team, and then the wheels just, I don't know, came off, flew off, whatever, and they ended up losing. And then afterward, Penny aired out every bit of dirty laundry the program had to offer to all of us media members. It was nuts. It was mind-blowing, jaw-dropping.
It was. I remember reading the quotes. Wait, I know it was a bad loss, but
hold up.
Damn, man, it was just 1.
Yeah.
But he was ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, Calkins was there because it was the ice game and he wanted to write about the fan turnout and stuff and Memphians braving the weather. And him and I, we look at each other in that press room what? Did Penny just say what I think he said? It was just nuts.
It's like when you get in a fight with your spouse, about one thing, but then it all comes out. She starts bringing up stuff that happened 2 years ago that she's just been kind of holding in, you know what I'm saying? Or is that just me?
I don't have a spouse, so it might just be you in this case, but
I think it's just me. I think it's just my own personal.
Go ahead and vent. Yeah, it's okay.
I don't want to do that to her, but
let's call her up.
Yeah, no, she will not be making. She is used to the media thing. She has no interest in it. She's a behind the mic kind of person. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what that was, and I don't get the sense that. Although I will say, like, doesn't Penny need a driver? He doesn't need to be slipping and sliding around all day. Man.
Yeah, so Penny's answer to that question was funny, and he shed some light on his experience that day of him leaving his East Memphis home and driving. I didn't realize Penny drove himself to games. I don't think he should be doing that in ice or snowstorms, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. He said he was sliding around the streets of Memphis, right? Like he was lucky to get there, is literally what he said, almost verbatim, that he was lucky to make it to FedEx Forum.
Yep.
He's driving around and he's thinking, damn, we're playing a game in this? And sure as hell, they were playing a game in that weather.
And they lost.
This year, I haven't heard of any contingency plans. It sounds like the game is on as scheduled.
Yeah.
We're supposed to get up to 6 inches of snow here in the Memphis area. But I think, look, this team...
It'd be the most since the turn of the century, by the way, if we get 6 in one day.
It would, wouldn't it? Last year was what, 5 and some change? Y'all remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I just saw a stat today from somebody that had again, snowfall in one day. Right?
I got you. That's the key there. Yeah.
Yeah, like it would be the most since, the turn of the century.
I'm kind of excited for it,
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not ice, because, I don't like to play about MLGW.
Yeah. Ice.
My experience with MLGW has been extremely negative when something like that happens. So there you go. We have look at our producer,
Natalie.
I gotta tell you, she is amazing, isn't she? Look at that. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
The most you ever had in one day, according to MemphisWeather.net, is 5 inches, which is a lot. Let me just tell you, 5 inches is a ton.
Wow. And where does last year rank on that?
Last year was 3 to 6 inches over 2 days.
Gotcha. So I don't know if listeners can hear that, but it was 3 to 6 inches last year over 2 days is what Natalie's saying.
Yes.
So yeah, if the forecast does turn out to be accurate,
1 day snowfall.
This will be a record for the city of Memphis, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Once again, haven't heard anything about plans for postponement or cancellation of the game, so the game should be on as scheduled. But I will say this, look, man, if the fans don't turn out, if the university comes out and says, hey, stay home, don't come out, just like it did last year, and there's 50 people in there again, this team's built for that, right? Like this team just seems to have a greater level of mental fortitude and the ability to generate its own juice, if you will, bring its own energy.
Yeah, and they're going to have to do that in a snowstorm. They're going to have to do that
at Charlotte.
It don't matter.
In a couple weeks, next week,
what's
whatever.
The Dr. Seuss, I like my ham with, I don't even know what how it goes, but that's what it's going to have to be. I like my ham there. I like my ham everywhere.
Green eggs and ham.
How does it go?
I think you're mixing two
I
together.
am. 1 fish, 2 fish.
You're mixing the cadence of 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish with the green eggs and ham.
Hey, whatever works. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have to create
They're all bangers, man. It's okay.
They're gonna have to, whether it's here, snowstorm, beautiful day outside, torrential downpour, tsunami, wildfire.
Under the rainbows of Maui to the snowstorms of Memphis, the Mid-South. So they got to handle business
That's
everywhere.
your journey. That's been your journey.
It's been my journey. It's been a beautiful one.
But yeah, I think this is a good test, because if there are 800 people in the building on Saturday.
Which is possible. Like, I know folks probably think we're exaggerating or being hyperbolic. Like, no, that's very much possible.
Memphians don't turn out.
Y'all should have seen it last year for those who were there,
That will be very similar to every road game they play.
That's sad but true.
So it's good to get that experience early and often. I'm sorry about that.
And I think, and we can end on this, but there's been so much, and it's been us, right? It's been the media peddling this narrative, if you will. Let's call it a narrative. Of the comparisons between this team and last team. Like, will this team falter like last year's team did? Is this team the same? I think this is the last straw in a good way, right? If they can pass this test of, 6 inches of snow on the ground in Memphis, 12 people at FedEx Forum, and hear a pen drop, and they can still beat the brains in of a bad East Carolina team, like, we can bury that one. Right?
I'm there. I tend to agree, man. I mean, I think, look, every game is its own, unique set, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, but at some point, you got to update your priors. You got to say, all right, I feel some level of confidence that this team is not going to fall victim to the same things that, last year's team, whether it's complacency, whether it's chemistry, whether it's cohesion, whatever the case may be. Again, the league is so much worse. I just don't think people are like not only have people not updated their priors about Memphis, I don't think they've updated their priors about the crappiness of the league.
That's true. I agree with that.
It's not, Dusty May is gone. UAB was the preseason pick, and they're terrible.
Awful.
They're terrible. North Texas, you don't play in Denton. So what are we talking about? I mean, so I get these tweets when I say, like, because I'll go on these occasional rants about how bad the league is, right? And I'll just, and people will be like, well, go win it. Okay, Memphis is going to win it. And then what? It's still a damn joke league. Well, it's a joke league before they win it. It's a joke league when they win it. It doesn't change. It's still a joke league.
That's accurate. But it's also true that Penny Hardaway has not won this league.
He has not won the AAC.
This is the AAC still.
This is not the AAC. He wasn't winning, though.
No, there's no Houston.
There's no Houston.
Cincinnati.
There's no UCF. There's no very different, man.
Not even SMU. You can rely on to be decent, right?
And I would even say FAU brought back everybody from a Final Four run.
Yeah, and it didn't go as they had envisioned it would go, but still, they brought back everybody from a Final Four run.
Right, Memphis didn't win the league, and they weren't picked to win the league. So I just overall feel like people will throw that in Penny's face. They were never going to win the league with Houston in it. Would have
been tough.
Houston's winning the Big 12.
It's nuts.
First year. So you're never winning that. You're never winning that conference. All right, they've been gone for 1 year. You had a bad year last year, but FAU was the favorite anyway. So Memphis is going to win this league, and they're going to continue to win this league until they, if God Himself comes down and places them in another conference, they're going to win this league every single year.
Well, I know Memphians are hoping and praying that God Himself does indeed do that, but I guess the next step in that process to winning this league starts in 2 days when they take on East Carolina at FedEx Forum in the midst of a snowstorm. But I guess that's all the time we have today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, John,
always
for joining us. You can read all my stories and John's columns at dailymemphian.com. Appreciate y'all listening, and we'll see you soon.